Good evening, everyone. I'm Christine Hoy, and I'm chair of the chapter's garden committee. I see a lot of familiar names on the screen here, so welcome. Couple of announcements. We have Bird Park. We're madly getting everything ready for planting a big native plant workshop in September. And so watch your email for postings on that. It's going to be fabulous and a lot of fun. Again, led by Greg Rubin and Leo Hernandez. If you're interested in helping with the prep, let me know, and I'll add you to the Bird Park work group list, and we'll keep things going that way. And I think that's all my immediate announcements. So without further ado, I would like to officially introduce Anne-Marie BENZ. She is from State CNPS and is the Stewardship Programs Manager. She will take us on a deep dive of the new Calscape program, which many of you are probably familiar with. I found it to be rather intuitive and a lot of fun just to find all the new options that are available. For those of you who are less familiar with Calscape, don't worry, Anne-Marie will walk us through the whole program and show us all how we can find all the good stuff. So Anne-Marie, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thanks, Christine. Christine and I have been trying to find things to work on for a while now, so I'm really excited to be here and to get to talk about Calscape. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a slide deck on it. And let's see, from beginning. There it goes. All right, so my plan today is to go through the slide deck that has just blanked out on me. And we did go do a tech check on this, so it should be fine, but that's why we give it a shot. Okay, great, there it is. All right, I'm gonna go through the slide deck on this and talk about Calscape, talk about the new Calscape, and then I'm gonna switch over to showing the new Calscape in real time so you can see where everything is located after we've talked about it. And then we'll get a chance to do Q&A after that. But most of you know that Calscape comes out of the San Diego region. I think it was a gift originally and a gift to all of us, a long-term gift. And I think we have at least one of the volunteers that helped put pieces of this together from the committee online here. So it was the work of a lot of different people to get to this point. All right. I'm with the state CNPS office. I'm with our stewardship or horticulture programs, which includes, among other things, the Calscape program. Jessica Woodard is our Calscape product manager. Maya Argamon has been very involved, and there's been a huge committee of people involved, helping, assisting in all kinds of different ways to help guide everything from the functionality to the look to making sure that everything is pulling up in the right areas. We're so thrilled to have had a huge amount of input and had so many people who are really dedicated to making this a project and a product where hopefully it's really useful for all of you. And it's an ongoing work. We'll get into that some. In my background, I came out of Southern California. My family has been over in Redlands for, I want to say, 6 generations now. I grew up in the Lake Arrowhead Mountains, and I spent a lot of my career in Northern Arizona, in Prescott, doing watershed management and repairing restoration. I came back to California in Northern California and was the executive director of what was then Bay Friendly. It's now Rescape California for quite a few years, and eventually worked my way over here into the California Native Plant Society. And it is a fabulous group at the state to work with, and part of the reason it's so great is that we get to work with people all over the state who love these plants as much as we do. So I'm assuming that pretty much everyone who's here is familiar with Calscape, and we're going to start with that base. Calscape.org has been around a long time. It has had an advanced search that a lot of people weren't aware of. It had a butterfly search that not everybody knew of. It also has a garden planner and a Bay Area garden planner. And I don't know if you want to use the comments area, but the chat area, it's a great way to talk about, kind of where you are with Calscape and if there are things you want to know. And I'll try to sort of watch that if you let me know what level you're at, and I'm glad to try and work those in. And if not, we'll get to it at the end with the Q&A. And so we also have a lot of people who use it all the time. I use it probably multiple times a day. Do you use Calscape, daily, weekly, monthly? Gives us an idea, if you want to put it in here, of how often you use it. We can help guide also if I know a little bit more about how often you use it. So Calscape used to look, this is the Calscape that you're used to seeing, very likely. It's the original Calscape. Thanks for putting in once in a while. It had you came right into it to the plant list. It was really obvious. You could see very quickly all the different plants. There are over 8,000 California native plants. It's almost too large to winnow down just right off the top. It's like going into the cereal aisle. There's just too many versions. Kari uses it every day, and Kari has been a big help on some of these pieces too. I see that in the chat. So Calscape was a terrific donation, and it has been a gift both to CNPS and to over 1.3 million visitors a year. It has a huge amount of information. It has always been a super powerful database, and it had a lot of information on each of the plants. You're probably familiar with seeing these versions where you can see the habitat of the plant. You can see the photos of the plant. You can find out a lot about it. We've got somebody who uses Las Politas' website. Highly recommend them also. So if we had this great database, why would we change it? And that's one of the things that we have gotten questions on. The new Calscape has all of these features that we used to have and that you're probably used to seeing. But we've updated it partially. Realistically, tech changes very fast. And so it needed the background information updated, held together in different ways in order to be more functional, to be more useful, to be more safe. We wanted it to be more visible on other types of screens rather than just a full computer screen, so you could be seeing it on phone screens just as well. It wasn't as useful for everybody in that way. There were a lot of reasons in the background to update it. And since we needed to do that, we wanted to make it even more user-friendly for people. We've gone from a look a little bit like this, where you could do the advanced search or you could go straight into it. And we are going into it looking like this. So when you come into calscape.org now, this is where you start. Calscape, this gives you kind of the opportunity for more people to get engaged with it, hopefully. It's a beautiful entryway for them. We're hoping that it'll attract and support new gardeners, that it'll be a little bit more friendly for people who only have access to it on their phones. We're going to try and continue to add information, so it will continue to be even better and better source of information on plants, on where they're found, both out in nature and in nurseries. We're going to be adding new photos so that people can see the plants better in situation. A lot of the plant photos that we had were beautiful, but they were often in the wild and not in gardens quite as much. So we're trying to add garden photos. We're trying to give it an opportunity for people to see what the plants look like mixed in with other plants, and to really picture, you've probably heard people who took out their lawns and the thought is, and now what? And we're giving them the opportunity to really picture these plants in that version of, and now what? It also has This version has improved readability and improved accessibility. So one of the things that we added was the idea that we have these native plant garden galleries now, and when I go into it live, you'll have the opportunity to really see that, where we'll be able to look at the plants in a garden setting and see what plants look like and what do they look like in communities in a garden. How do they mix? How do you lay them out? Garden gallery is a series of images showing specific types of gardens or landscapes. And the goal of the gallery is to kind of inspire and encourage gardeners, to give them ideas for their landscapes, to give them kind of, the spark, the concept of what they can do as well. We'll be continuing to update these garden galleries. We'll have opportunities if you have a garden that you'd really love to show off and let people see. And we want to look that, chapters and contributors can really help build out inspirations and help people to see their area. San Diego has a very unique look. You have unique habitats, you have plant kind of concepts that are unique to your area, and helping people to see the ones that they really enjoy in that area, rather than seeing one that is more LA or one that's more Sacramento, helps people in your area kind of really feel that identity of the region, of your local native plants, how they work together, how they can lay them out in beautiful ways, and get a better understanding. So the garden galleries are for an inspiration, and we hope that you'll also participate in them. You get kind of these full garden backyard ideas. This one's in Kensington, in the Bay Area, just kind of right by Berkeley. You get each garden gallery opens up into a little slideshow. We can attribute the landscaper and the photographer separately, and we can caption the photo, kind of linking to the separate plants. So you can also go through, you can find plants that you like in each of these and be like, I do talks regularly, and we get the questions all the time in the chat, what was that yellow flower? What is that bright pink one? And in this, you can take a look through the garden galleries, and you have the opportunity to see what is that bright pink flower over there, and follow through on finding it, finding what goes with its habitat. What do you like how it's laid out with other plants? Hopefully you have an opportunity to scroll through some of these. It's kind of the at-home garden tour version. So Calscape has over 8,000 plants. Going in and starting with just the 8,000 plants is almost overwhelming. So the plant search has been one of the most important features, and continues to be one of the most important features, and one of the ones that we want to make sure is as robust as possible, both in the regular search and in an expanded search. So there's the opportunity when you go in to put in where you're located, and to put in a bunch of advanced filters on what you really like. So if you put in your area, you're likely going to get still an overwhelming number of plants, but you can put in that you want super low, very low water. Your water district would approve of that. They'd be, particularly if you're looking to take out lawns, they're a huge fan of trying to go low water, or trying to get to a point where you come off of watering systems with as much as possible, using it for installation and for supplemental water during hot or dry times. You can do that by choosing that you want something that's very low water. You can choose your sun. You can choose how quickly your soil drains. You can choose if you want butterflies. You can choose if you want it only plants that are available in nurseries near you. So the plant search is a really robust feature, and we'll take a look at that live in just a moment. We have some additional new filters that have come in, including things like bank stabilization if you have hillsides, container gardens. We've got some of these in and some of them coming, but we want to make sure that people can choose their plant communities. It's, you live in a particular area that has these communities that do really well together. You'll often see them on your hillsides, and you can choose ones by that community as well. And then you can still go into the plant details, and the plant pages, the layouts changed a little bit. You have at least as much information as you had previously, but you can go in and you can find more photos of the plant itself. You can find its habitat, you can find its needs, its co-plantings, a description. The image, you can find larger images than what we used to have. The images are really updated. There's a lot of clarity on them. You can search for plant availability by nursery or by nurseries near you. So we'll get into it a little bit more, but I think you're going to like the new plant details pages. And then with garden-like nature, the plant communities idea, where you can choose it by, oops, the preview live button isn't going to work on here. I thought I'd removed it because I could not get it to function when I was on. Sorry about that. The plant communities. So the plants are in their natural habitat. They live in these plant communities, in these families of plants that work really well together and are often very attractive together. So we've got the opportunity now to go in and choose the habitat that you're in and let that default to some of the plants for that area as well and help guide you through it. And then when you want to plan your garden, you can go in and there's a lot of information on planning your garden on there now. Goal of the section is to help gardeners and landscapers kind of select and cultivate the native plants successfully. We want you to fall in love with the plants, and then we also want you to have a really successful experience with the garden. And if you're new to gardening, or if the people that you're guiding or that you're helping through this are new to gardening, it gives you a lot of opportunity to really take a deeper look on some of these. In the new Calscape, one of the things we wanted to do is to make it an easier layout, provide easier to read guidance about factors to consider when you're selecting your native plants. So if you're new to gardening, you can read through these and talk about the things that we ask you to select for. Are you selecting for your sun conditions, your soil type? There's one on maintenance. How often, what type of maintenance level are you up for contributing to in a landscape? I know myself, because I work in this and it's kind of the cobbler's children have no shoes. Often I'm choosing plants that are very low maintenance because I want it to be in and to thrive, and I'm willing to give it the care it needs, but I'm not looking for the constant maintenance pieces. I have a neighbor who loves being involved in his garden on a regular daily basis and really wants plants that are showier when he's giving them attention. So we talk about all the different types, what type of climate you're in, what are your watering conditions. And then once you're looking through all of this, you can use these plants to build plant lists. You can build a plant list, you can name them different things, you can save them, you can export them, you can share them. One of my favorite things to do with our plant lists are when you export them, you can export them to an expanded Excel sheet that includes a lot of the maintenance needs for your landscape. So if you're putting your landscape all in here, you can create a list for a landscape that you already have, as well as you can create lists for all kinds of ones you may dream of, for projects you're working on, school gardens, the community gardens, those type of things. You can then print out the expanded list, and it has a maintenance option to really see what types of maintenance it needs when it needs it. You can create plant signs that you can print out of here, and the plant signs will give you information on it. And we know some of the nurseries involved with us have used these to print up plant signs, or they print up a QR code that leads to the plant signs. You can do plant labels from these QR codes, print it up smaller, and that'll take you to information on each of the plants as well. And then we have a new one that it's probably the thing I'm most excited about, the Professionals Directory. If you're interested in native plants, you probably on a regular basis have people ask you for recommendations on who can help them with their landscape. I get it on a regular basis, and there are a half dozen people in my region that I feel good recommending, but I don't know people throughout the rest of the state. And this is a great way to have people who we know are working in native plants. We can filter them by the types of services that they do. Are they landscape designers, or are they a landscape architect? Are they specializing in irrigation? Do they specialize in working in Spanish, which is an important one? What are their certifications or credentialing? We have the California Native Plant Landscape Certification. There's the Bay Friendly Certification. There's a variety of others on here that you can check, and you can understand a little bit more whether they work in your area, what are their specialties. You can link to their pages and understand more about what they do. So this is one I'm really excited about. I think too often we haven't been able to find the people who are really good about this, and I'm excited to have a way to find them and to share them. And I pulled up one in the San Diego area just to kind of highlight. You can get all kinds of information as you click on each of those and find somebody in that region. You can click on them, you can find more information about them. This one has a minimum project size, they serve your area, they're a landscape designer. So it's exciting to see these, and the more people that are on here, hopefully the more people looking, and it'll be a feedback loop. The more people looking, the more people who will be on here. There's also a nursery directory where you can put in your region, you can put in what you want, and you can take a look kind of in this area, how many nurseries are specializing in native plants. We also know that there are more out there, so a little bit like the professionals directory, people are we encourage people to self-select on this one. So if you know of a nursery in your area that is selling native plants, they don't have to be fully native plants, but if they have native plants, we'd love to have them on here and help them to be found. And hopefully the more they're found, the more native plants they're selling, the more that they're going to carry. And I pulled up another one that is your chapter seed and bulb one that is on here. So you can see when you click on one of the little pop-up balloons, it'll take you to the information on that nursery. You can then click on the nursery, you can find out more about them, and you can go to what kind of services that they do. Are they a wholesaler? Are they a retailer? And you can see the plants that they're carrying. What's their inventory that they have updated right now? It's a really nice way to be able to find out as you go to a nursery. Can you pre-plan your list? Can you cross-reference the list of what you want with different nurseries? Or you can find your new favorite nursery and go and explore. We also have an online garden planner. We have two versions of online garden planners. There's a 4-step California garden planner, and then there's also a Bay Area garden planner. It's a version that we hope to eventually put throughout the state. I'll show you those when we go live. These are all based by garden-based planners. They're location-based. So you're looking at information for your area specifically. And it helps you to find the plants for that area, kind of the ecotypes that would be functional there. You can set your garden planner priorities. Are you looking for pollinators, birds, low water? You can set your priorities. You can choose none, you can choose all of them. And as you go into it, then it gives you the opportunity. What type of region do you live in? Are you a coastal scrub? Are you more meadowy? Are you taking out your lawn and putting in a meadow type feel? And then it gives you kind of ideas and photos that you can go into. Gives you interactive tips. The ones that we have here that give you, each of these is a pop-up version, and give you a downloadable PDF, not only of the garden view, but of the plants that it helps to pull for that, and kind of their information and overview as well. We have in here, I heard Greg Rubin mentioned repeatedly, and Greg is a big advocate of different parts of firescaping. And we have fire-wise guidelines included in these as well. We've got your 0 to 5, your 5 to 30, and your 30 to 100 zones in the Bay Area model, but the concepts hold regardless of where you're at. So for us, the next steps for Calscape, we want we want to encourage you, if you're a professional, to go in and add yourself in here and help yourself be found. I have somebody who says when they're looking for professionals in San Diego, they're only getting one hit. We've just started it and we don't have a lot of people doing it yet. And so we need to get the word out on here for both for professionals and for nurseries. We'd love to have more on here. It is a super easy way to put yourself on. You go in, you create an account, and it prompts you all the way through uploading the information that you need in order to be found. So if you're a professional, or if you know a professional, or if you have a favorite nursery, please encourage them to come and put themselves on here. We're going to be looking into sharing photos, plant lists, and other highlights from recent projects. And oops, I went ahead too quick and now it does not want to go back. All right, so at the end, I have a link to help ask for, we're looking for more photos. We're always looking for more photos, and we love seeing people's photos and letting them show them off as well. So that's our requests for you on what's next. And then for us, we're working on the next pieces that we're adding in. Right now, we're working on what's been called Butterfly Net. It's butterfly and bee integrations, and it includes doing Spanish translation as well, so that more of Calscape will be available in Spanish as well as English. We'll be doing surveys and refinements through 2025, and it'll be fully released in 2026. Right now, there's a way to find butterflies in there. We're looking at a very involved pollinator integration in here, where people will be able to find a wide variety of pollinators, and they'll be able to get recommendations as well for hedgerows, for agricultural areas, for in city gardens or small city farms, those type of things that need those type of pollinators as well. And then we've also got a propagations protocol project coming in 2026. We have funding for both of these two projects that we're working with through CDFA to promote pollinators and to support them throughout the state. We are working to collect at propagation protocols on at least 300 kinds of California native plants. And we'll be adding to it after that, but for now, at least 300 types of California native plants. We are going to work with specialists on it to clarify the language, to verify that they're good protocols, and then to get them into a database that integrates here with Calscape, and to make them open source so that everyone can figure out how to propagate these for agricultural use, for schools, for homes, for nurseries that want to move into native plants. There will also be additional information on what is propagation, what is the difference between, seed and cutting, and what are the language pieces that we don't always understand. If somebody says it needs to be acid washed, or the various things that we may not understand right off the bat. So there'll be a huge integration with that, and we hope that you will find your favorite native plants and you will learn to propagate them, and you will fall in love with them as well, and with helping other people to fall in love with them too. So those are our upcoming ones. And here's the part. We want you to help us with sharing your photos if you're up to it. And let me grab the form if it will open. Come on. I'm going to take a link on the form to help share your photos, and put it into the chat, and you should be able to click on that. So if you have great photos of plants, of gardens, if you have modifications on some of these, we are glad to hear from you. Got more than one of those. So if we're missing photos, if we're missing cultivars, if there are pieces that you aren't clear to you, you can also write to us, and we would love to hear from you on that as well. We're trying to keep all this information to go through it. And as we grow, as we change Calscape, we're going to continue adding, we're going to continue updating, and the more feedback we get from you, the best person to contact for propagation protocols is Maya Argamon, or me. And we're both working on it at this point. But we'd love to have you involved. I'm going to go switch out and to looking at actual Calscape for a couple of minutes. And I want to run through, I talked about all these pieces, I talked about why we're doing them, but it's different when you lay it out on screen, and I want to help explore this and take a look at kind of where you find everything on Calscape. So when you land on calscape.org and you scroll down here now, why native plants, and we can talk about supporting wildlife, saving water, adapting to climate change, gardening like nature. We've got some inspirations right down here. I want to see, like, let's see. Container gardens, not every, is one that we're really passionate about. Now I bet everyone has space to do these beautiful landscapes that we all enjoy, but container gardens are just as important in many ways. And I want to, so you can go into a garden inspiration, you can take a look through different types, you can get inspiration on them. You can come out, we can go into all of the garden galleries here. Take a look at them. And as you're looking through them, you can see the discussion on, this is a Turf to Native Garden Program version from Moulton Miguel, just north of you. And what happens when you change out your turf. That's what I remember when Stephanie Prugel's before, mid, and after. So it used to be that you'd open it up Calscape and you'd start right at plants. Now you go over here to finding plants, and you can search the native plants here. And we're going to go with San Diego since you're in that region. I'll go with the county. And you can check into, if you just put the county, it's already 868 plants. They're beautiful, and it's easy to want to scroll through them. But let's say you're looking for your house. We want ones that are available within 50 miles with the nursery. You're getting mostly full sun. You want extremely very low water. Special uses. Perhaps you have to have deer resistant, or you want for a lawn alternative. Here, hedges, your soil and drainage, your ease of care. I'm going to choose ones that are very easy care. We want them to attract all the happy wildlife. You can choose the size, the flowering color, seasonality, cultivars. You can put in plant communities, but we've kind of narrowed it down to 63. You can go in and you can find out a lot more about any of the plants just by clicking on them here. We've gone to Elegant Clarkia here, and you can go to a whole slew of photos of it. This is part of the ones where we've got beautiful photos of them in nature, in gardens. We love getting more of them in gardens. I went all the way out, and that was not, there we go. Elegant Clarkia here, you can see the range of it. Very popular through all parts of the state. You can get a whole description. You can figure out what the plant type is, how big it's going to get, its form, its growth rate. You can take a look at what its landscape needs are. What does it need for drainage? What does it need for propagation? We have some of that. What are its sunset zones? Its natural setting types and its plant communities. what are its companion plants, what grows well with it. If you're trying to figure out what plants would you plant with, you can start a list through looking through these ones. The wildlife it supports, even pictures of the wildlife. It can also be called woodland carcia. And then you get this opportunity to really dive deep on these plants and get to know them a little bit better. You can also take a look if you really like this. You find it at nurseries near you. And if we come to it, we've got nurseries here that it's got a nursery with your chapter. And then we've got, if you want to go up to Tree of Life or over to Growing Works, all fabulous nurseries as well. So it's an easy way to fall in love with a plant, or if you're really into pollinators or butterflies, you can start at this version and which one do you want to support and find. You're going to choose this one just because it is obviously a beautiful one, and it'll give you what are its host plants, and you can work backwards from there into what type of pollinators do you want to support. You can start with design inspirations. Gives a lot of information on why they're good for wildlife or native plants. We have the garden galleries from here as well that we've already seen some of. The design ideas talks about how to design and what to think about, and we've got a variety of designs, and some of those designs, they've been built out by Miraday. And then we have garden planners that you can go to also. There's local guides for gardens. There's the Bay Area gardens that have the fire setbacks. There's the California Garden Planner that's throughout, and you can kind of in here go in and begin with putting in just a couple of questions. We're going in San Diego, we're going to do something that is outdoor living. It's going to be fairly sunny over here. And you want it to do all the happy things. And it will give you a plant list for that, a starter plant list, and designs, both how it'll look and then how to lay it out in a couple of different ways. So the garden planners are a lot of fun to play around with. And if you're looking at what to do in your yard, they're also a lot of fun to spark inspiration. You can also find nurseries statewide and drill down into where you're at or where you're going to be at. Oops. You know, in this region, you go into your nursery. You can go over here and find the nursery itself. Find photos of the nursery, about it, the location, and over here, the inventory. It's almost like plant shopping. It's the late night plant shopping version online. A lot of information on how to care for your garden, how to plant it, how to choose plants that are right for you, how to take care of weeds and pest control. And then here's the landscape professionals version. And there aren't enough in your area. If we go with San Diego County, we have butterfly effects. So we obviously need more people online and promoting their businesses. If you go north just a little bit to get to Orange County, we still only have 5. However, if we go to, like, let's see, the East Bay, where we've been doing a lot of trainings, we now have 18. Because I know we've had a couple of recent trainings in that area. So landscape professionals, how to find, you can also, rather than choosing them specifically by an area, you can go into whether you want them to do design, maintenance, build, some other pieces, whether you want them credentialed. Do you need licensed landscape architect, which is different than a designer. Do you want somebody who's QUEL, which is irrigation certified? We have the ones who have taken the CNPLC through us and through Theodore Payne. You can take a look at them. But for each of these, you can then go into their profile. It can take you to their website. So you can go right to them. You can look through the photos and learn about their work. What project types do they do? Where are they located? So for each of these, you can narrow it down. And do they do commercial? Do they do residential? It's a way to narrow it down a little bit. And I think I had just one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I will also put in the chat that we have an upcoming webinar. Our regular Naturehood is usually the first Thursday of every month, but the first Thursday was 4th of July. So we are doing it this week. And if you want to continue talking about landscapes, we're going to be talking to Doug Kent about the ideas in his newest book about regenerating landscapes. So with that, I will stop sharing and we can go to questions. And I know I missed some of the later comments. Hey, Christine.
So for anybody that has any questions that doesn't want to put them into the chat box, hover over your screen, and then in the bottom left-hand corner, make sure that you're unmuted and your mic is on and working. And that please, if you want to show your face, that's fantastic. Mind your background. And also just if you don't want to show your face, that's totally fine. Put in into a line, please raise your hand under the reactions under the bottom tab, and we'll answer the questions as they come in, or put your questions into chat, please. Okay, I'll break the ice. Well, why don't I start off with gardens in dormancy in that period, when there's certain plants that are in the background and, they're definitely doing well. They just don't have that fantastic bloom or even leaves on them, perhaps. Is that a feature in Calscape? Can we see some of the, photographs of the exemplar gardens during the seasons?
We have some gardens in there that show different times in their development, but I don't know that we have any that show specifically when they're not in bloom or when they're dormant. And I'll take that back to the team that we should have opportunities to take a look at that. A little bit like Saxon Holt talks about, like summer dry gardens, planning for the gardens when they're not at their showiest.
We have a question from John Roos. Are there guidelines for irrigation requirements in micro designing?
There's information that talks about how to water and how to irrigate these plants. There aren't guidelines in the way specific to something like a WELO, Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance. I think it just depends on what kind of level you're looking for. There's overviews on these, but if you're interested in getting into the real specifics of how to water, I've got a couple of great white papers on it. I'd be glad to send anyone who's interested.
If you could send me those links, Anne Marie, I'd be happy to pass them on to anyone who is interested in them.
Yeah, there's some really good papers on the first couple of years of how to irrigate native plants, and it comes out of research in Southern California, so locally appropriate.
I have a question. Is there still a way of organizing the photographs so they're by photographer for each plant? That you used to be able to do that, but I can't figure out how to do that now.
By a photographer, you said?
Yes.
I don't remember being able to do that, and perhaps I hadn't figured that out, but on a particular native plant, you want to look at at each of the photos and organize by photographer, or?
Right. Well, I write for the San Diego Horticulture Society newsletter, and I have permission to use the photographs that say Calscape. Plus, I have permission from a couple of the photographers. Keir Morris has given me permission to use whatever I want, for example. But, you know, it's easier if I organize them by the photographer, so I'm looking at just Calscape or Keir Morris. Or at least it's in order altogether. But I don't see a way of doing that now.
Yeah, I don't see a way of doing that, and I don't remember having been able to do it, but I will take that back to the team as well.
Okay, thank you.
And everyone can use the ones that are labeled as Calscape. We have them as they're open source.
Oh, that's great. Karen Fisher had a question. She wants to know if there's a way to identify plants that grow on the islands. She says, I've had such challenges searching for plants. And is there information on the longevity of specific plants?
There isn't information on the longevity of specific plants, I don't believe. And I think it would depend on what island you're on. And how small it is. The plants are, the way they're set up is they are done through the Jepson eFlora information, and the data is provided usually through the Consortium of California Herbaria. So they have been found in the wild within 10 miles of that site at least twice. And that often for smaller islands makes it very hard to narrow it down. And we're aware of that, but we don't quite know how to solve that one because of the data issue that goes into the background at this point. It's an ongoing piece, and particularly who we hear that from is San Francisco residents, because San Francisco, although not an island, is such a small place with so many different habitat types. But we don't have as good of a place. We can find what is regionally appropriate on the island, but we may not be able to separate out if something is only on the island or if it is in the nearby shorelines, depending on location.
Okay. Carrie Olson, is there a specific label type brand that the print label feature is formatted for?
Not that I'm aware of, or I might know that more because I think she's been involved some, but not that I'm aware of that I don't know that it's formatted for a particular brand.
Kathleen Dowling, is there a weeding versus seeding section? Thank you.
Weeding versus seeding. I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Kathleen, can you tell us a little more about your question if you're still on? All right.
There is a section though on weed and pest control. I'm not sure about the versus seeding part.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
great.
Okay, weed lean. Like Thomas Paine, they have a weed lean versus seedling section on their website. But so, you know, so you can identify, especially we plant a lot of wildflowers, tons of wildflowers. And then in the spring, we're ready to weed and figure out what's what. And then we're trying to find a good resource that has all the seedlings, you know, on all these wildflowers right behind Christine there. It has pictures of all of them. So if you could pull up seedling wildflowers, what they look like, and then you can establish them from weeds or vice versa.
Okay. We
That's
don't
good.
have that, but that would be fascinating because I know I've heard from plenty of people whose well-meaning, the well-meaning grandparents that have come over and are out there weeding with the grandchildren and realize that the freshly planted native garden is gone.
Exactly.
And
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. Justin, you had your hand up?
I want to give Bob Burns a chance since his hand was up. Did you want to go, Bob?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Here's an oddball location. Dog owners have a dog park and basically sand along the ocean shore, coastal strand. The dog owners want to reduce seed heads getting into paws. What type of plants would you suggest to minimize that occurring?
We have a whole neighborhood on planning for dogs and called dogscaping. And weirdly, it is one of our most popular talks we've had. If you look at the CNPS YouTube page, because people love having their dogs in the yards and having that out there. You've got sandy grounds, you've got dogs, probably got, you don't want them in the paws. You also don't want, you need something that can take having dogs, trot on them, dogs pee on them, things like that happening all around them. You're going to need some really hardy ground cover probably to get that done. Let me think. Okay, so we want something that is a ground cover. We want something that can take probably a lot of sun. The dog part, you also need to make sure it's not, it's on the SPCA list of ones that are going to become a problem for dogs and could make them sick or can hurt them.
I was thinking a lot of pioneer type plants, especially for coastal sage scrub environment, because it's a huge area. There's very little growing on it except weeds right now.
Yeah, and you might want stuff like the blue-eyed grasses or dune sagewort. That's pretty hardy. They probably also want it to be attractive, low maintenance, low water.
Of course.
Because we often are layering all those. Beach primrose doesn't take a whole lot to keep it going. But then you start getting into the needle grasses, and those are terrible with dogs because they take everything home with them. But some of the beach primrose or the dune sagewort might be a good option for them.
What about the seaside heliotrope?
Could be good.
It seems to tolerate salt and sand.
Yeah, that would be a specialty list. We've been narrowing it down for a while and then trying to source them all. It's a fun project.
I'm just getting started, but thank you.
We have a question from William Schubert. How about ground cover? I rarely see it mentioned since lawns aren't popular anymore, but I have a lot of area which might use it, which would be durable enough to be walked on if possible.
Ooh. I have an interesting list on that. Let me find it here. I have a list that Greenbelt Growers gave me that I'm going to put into the chat here. You can, through Calscape, you can narrow down, you can do ground covers and then you can put in a bunch of varieties. But this list that Greenbelt gave me, they were testing out what could basically be a good ground cover alternative in native plants. They're in Riverside, so they're not too far from you. They spoke at the conference and they were putting together ones that they really liked and thought held up really well. And some of them are, I mean, for the most part, they're cultivars as well. But if you're taking out your grass and you want something that's going to need very little work, the creeping red fescue or Festuca rubra, they had a festival on, then didn't water it right away, kind of let it grow in, and it survived a lot of use and a lot of wear and tear without too much care. So there's a whole variety of ones that are appropriate and you can look at on Calscape, but that list is also a good resource.
Thank you.
Okay, oh, there we go. So John Roos again, is there a recommendation for keeping birds from eating the new sprouts of wildflower seedlings? I planted a whole area of a wildflower mix and the birds ate every one of them as they came up.
Oh man. Yeah, and they're doing what they're meant to do, which is gathering the materials and surviving on them, and you were providing them all that habitat value there. When I've had bird problems like that, it's often trying to either scare off the birds, putting up a fake owl, those types of things, or it's putting in mulches or something that the little seedlings can grow through. Trying to give them enough time to outgrow the bird time. But man, they must have had such a feast on your landscape. I'm sorry about that.
I know one garden owner who went down to the dollar store and bought these very inexpensive trash baskets, like for the office, so short and squatty. And he had them all over his hillside. This was Lee Gordon, by the way. People may know him. And that was the only way he could keep the rabbits and the birds from eating his seedlings.
I have something kind of like that. I have currently a bunch of upside down tomato cages over certain areas, just kind of wrapped in garden cloth at the moment, just being like, please stop.
Yeah. Lori Barker says bird netting can help as well.
Yeah. Bird netting can help if you want to string it up and above.
Yeah. All right.
Looks like we have a hand up over here with Leah.
Leah.
Yeah, I wanted to offer a solution to the birdseed eating because I had this experience on campus. We had, as part of the curriculum, we had a section of plant ID class that was just California native annual wildflowers. And I would have the students in the semester before, in the fall, seed that area for the students in the spring who would take the class. And what we actually found to be a little easier to use than bird netting was row cover. It's to protect from frost, but it's permeable to air and water. It lets in about 70, still get okay germination. And what we would do is we would lay it on the ground and just kind of dig a shallow trench along the edge of our bed and put the excavated dirt back in, and that would hold the row cover down. And we'd leave enough slack in the material so that once those seedlings started to sprout, they would have a little bit of room to push up on the fabric and get going. And what our experience and what some of the literature was saying is that birds really like the seeds and very young seedlings. But once those seedlings get up a little bit and start to harden off, they're not as attractive to birds to eat. So once those sprouted seedlings started to push up on that slack that we had in the row cover fabric, then we would just take it up and follow our regular irrigation and go on from there. And we could keep the row cover and use it again.
And
So
you
that's
just draped it right over, or you put it
yeah,
up
so
higher?
we didn't build a structure or anything. Now, again, these were just California native annual wildflower beds. So we weren't incorporating larger woody plants or anything like that in this application. But that worked pretty well for us, and it kept the birds out. And, it doesn't really help with if you've got things like squirrels. It'll keep rabbits out because they don't really, they're not that smart, but squirrels can pretty much get into anything, and gophers can too. But so those are my thoughts on that.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's a different answer if you've got just seeds out broadly, or if you're trying to put them in between structure and trees and stuff too. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. A couple of people aren't fans of the bird netting. They've had experiences where birds have gotten caught. I don't know if there's an answer to that, or not.
Yeah, that's why we went with the frost row cover, because it's a porous plastic. We had the same concern that birds are just going to come down and get their legs stuck in the openings of bird netting, which is why we didn't put bird netting on the ground. And we used the frost row cover. I know you guys would recognize it if you saw it. Agriculture uses it sometimes in high tunnels, or even those lower little PVC structures that they'll put over vegetable beds, and it keeps insects out too. It's really designed to protect young plants from frost, but we wound up using it for everything else. So
Good to know.
yeah, we
We're
didn't
not
like
in a
the
frost area,
bird
so-
netting idea either.
Yeah, we wouldn't have thought about it because it's not, we don't get frost here, but that's a nice solution.
What color is the fabric?
It's kind of, when I turn off my camera and stuff, I'll look for something online and post a link in the chat. But it's just like a milk jug, clear white kind of, because it needs to not block out too much light, or you won't get good germination and growth. So unlike shade cloth, which I think starts at around 50%, I don't think you're losing more than about 30% of your sunlight.
Okay.
So I'll find an example. I'll post a link in the chat.
All right.
So I'll jump in with a kind of a pitch on our own chapter. Has a forum. There is a discussion group where people can lament what's going on, or share the successes, especially their successes. We don't see a lot of those, but some of the solutions are really valuable to people that haven't quite encountered them yet. And so that's in our San Diego discussion group through the website. Please sign up if you're not aware of that, and then kind of follow in. It's an email list, and maybe Anne Marie can talk a little bit about social media interaction, or if that links to Calscape and social media. And then I have one more question after the social media comment.
I'm not sure on the Calscape and social media part.
I was just wondering if there's a chance for people to ask questions through Calscape or a forum, or if there's a separate link, like the State CNPS Facebook group.
There is a Facebook group online for State CNPS. It is very active, and you can usually get a pretty decent response either from our staff or through all the knowledge on there as well. There's a contact us form here. I'll put it in chat directly on Calscape. You can reach me on Calscape or things like the Propagation Protocols Project, and I put my email in there as well. BENZ@cnps.org. If you like sharing information, though, the Facebook group is really active as well. And if you have a chapter one, that's even better because it's people local with a lot of knowledge and a lot of inspiration as well.
And then my other question is related to Calscape directly in terms of searching up common names, which naming conventions change all the time. I mean, there's a few common names that we're trying to change because of their inappropriate history, but people might still think of the old naming, especially scientific names. Can we still search by a variety of old names? For example, some people might be still searching for deerweed as Lotus scoparius, which has been many years out of convention, but still used in the nursery trade.
Well, like you can still search for miner's lettuce and find it, even though we've changed it to rura at this point, and we're recognizing rura as the common name. So they are still in there, and they will often, even if once we've updated them and on the main page, they'll be also in the also known as, so you can search them as well. Yeah, common names I often use them in talks, but they change quickly, and we're less likely to change the scientific names, but they're still in there and probably will continue to be.
We have another question. Is there a new Calscape flyer that can be used as a handout for events?
Ooh, I believe Jessica has some that they are working with because they had it shown off recently at the LA Book Fair, and we can get you some of those, Kari. Maya or me or Jessica can get them for you.
Is it a PDF like the other one? I think the old flyer, we just got the PDF from you all and then we print them locally.
I think well, if it's not a PDF, we can make it a PDF easily enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. One last thing, I was just kind of browsing around Calscape this afternoon and looking at nurseries, and for some reason, Native West fell off the map.
It's an opt-in, and feel free to harass them back into it.
They took themselves off?
Well, when it changed over, everybody had to proactively opt back in.
Okay.
And I think they just did a neighborhood talk for us. So I know that they're still active and they're still working. I think it's more that we just anybody that's fallen off, especially the big ones, it's a busy time. So giving them a couple of reminders wouldn't hurt. We're huge fans of Native West, so
Yeah.
I'd love to have them back on there, especially now that they've got the retail arm as well.
Just to speaking of who else has retail availability, Moosa Creek just opened up selling to the public on Thursdays and Fridays. But you do have to get in touch with them to make an appointment before you head out, just so that they can be sure a staff person is there to help you. So that's great news. And they also recently just bought another nursery in Palomar Mountain, and that is open to the public, and they do have Moosa Creek plants there as well. Oh, and one last thing. If you are a CNPS member, Moosa Creek Nursery is the only nursery in San Diego that will give you a 10% discount when you buy plants. So when you order them on the Moosa Creek website at checkout, the discount code is just CNPS, and they'll give you your 10% discount when you pick your plants up at your local nursery.
And if you haven't been to Moosa Creek itself, it's a worthwhile trip. It's a beautiful space.
Yeah. Okay, and Leah just added the link for the frost, for the freeze covers, for
Good.
everyone. And anyone else have any questions?
The only thing I wanted to say is it's just one example. There are a whole bunch of different manufacturers, all sorts of price.
I think we might have
See
lost her.
what's gonna work for
I
you.
think-
Oh, there.
Okay. All right. Well, I thrilled that you were able to join us tonight, Anne Marie. Lots of great information, a lot of information, and I think for everyone, it's just going to take a little bit of time for you to jump on the website and just start clicking. The one thing that I wanted to let everyone know, as far as saving a plant list, you do need to create a Calscape account to be able to do that. And then you can just create as many, well, I shouldn't say this. I was going to say create as many plant lists as you want, but there may be limitations depending on how many plants you have in your list. So anyways, I just want to thank you so much, Anne Marie. Great topic and a great presentation.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I wish we could do this all in person. So maybe in the future. And I learned about the frost cover for these pieces too. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
A new thing every day.
All right. Well, Justin, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'll let you close out, but I wanted to mention that now's the time to plan any new gardens or how to supplement your existing gardens. The native plant sale for the San Diego chapter, we're going to aggregate from our local nurseries and what people have grown, and have a pre-order list that will have the hard to get plants that might only be 6 available in the whole county or so. We want to make sure that those are available for people in an easy enough way, but in a way that the people with an interest in them can get them, while the general public has all the access to the sages and manzanitas and the ceanothus, everything that's really popular. That will be in October, the third weekend of October, on the 19th. That's a Saturday at Sykes Adobe at South Escondido. It's at Villa Rancho Parkway. We'll send out flyers, all of this beautiful information that's being developed, and then we'll have the place to ourselves, so no competition with other types of traffic. It'll be a wonderful event, and I hope to see many of you there as volunteers and as customers. All CNPS members will get additional discounts, of course, for coming out and supporting the chapter, and all of those funds to go to such a great cause. And I wanted to thank you, Anne Marie, for all of the amazing work and hard work that you've done, and all of the team with Calscape. It's been no small feat, and going to the chapter council, I got to see behind the scenes just a tiny bit, and I'm just amazingly impressed.
Well, we're so excited that it's finally here after all this planning and work. So please spread the word, bring more people. But thank you again. Thanks again for the opportunity to come in to talk with y'all on it. We're excited about it.
Yeah. And lots of thank yous in the chat. So everyone, we're going to end the recording and let you all get a little bit of evening time before bed. And thank you and good night.
Thank you all. Bye.